Good afternoon. Pastor Felicia here with another episode of Positive Tea with Fee. Thank you guys for joining. And we're going to talk about Child Abuse Prevention Month. It is such a blessing to have continued supporters. So I want to start by thanking you guys. And yeah, I hope you all are well. So let me give you guys a little bit of information in regards to Child Abuse Prevention Month. Approximately 1 in 4 children experience child abuse or neglect in their lifetime. Of maltreated children, 18% are physically abused, 78% are neglected, and 9% are abused sexually. Those are statistics from the year before last. So, of course, most likely increased. Since 1983, the President of the United States declared April as Child Abuse Prevention Month. So, that's why this month is dedicated to child prevention. And he did that to raise awareness of child abuse prevention. He also did this to add more charges through legislature for those that are found guilty of child abuse. This is also providing ways to fund different programs in their effort to support other child abuse prevention areas. And that's nationwide or on a local level. And I think it's important to spread the word because some individuals don't necessarily know, and then others know, but they don't really, have an understanding of information like background information in regards to the efforts that were laid out for the United States. And there were several bills passed during the 70s as there was a rise on child abuse. Unfortunately, before then, there were not a lot of laws set in place to protect children. And throughout the history of the United States, it's very sad to think about. But with time comes change. The United States is always evolving. And so after those bills were passed, the 80s allowed a lot more reform as far as child abuse and the policies. And so the Child Abuse Prevention Month was just another layer of ways to support those efforts. So I think it's extremely important to have a little bit of history on that and to really have the desire to dig more in that. So as far as the things that we can do to advocate or be a part of child abuse prevention, that goes with supporting families. The word prevention is set out as a way to advocate for being able to make you want to be proactive in everything that is possibly problematic. But this is not something that's possibly problematic. And this is something that we fight in the United States every day. And so by doing our part in that and supporting families, you're being proactive as it pertains to child abuse. And that's what this month is all about. You want to promote social and emotional connections with the children and their families. And this does involve, encouraging and uplifting parents, especially single moms or moms who may have special circumstances, or children that have different abilities. You want to be able to be someone that is always advocating for them in some way. And you can do this by taking advantage of respite care opportunities. And by doing that and setting that example, you kind of put it out there that it's okay to take a break. It's okay to take some time for yourself. And also individually offering support to children and families that are in need. Sometimes this is just simply directing them to other resources in your communities, or on a bigger scale, encouraging them to research online resources as well. Sometimes people don't know where to start. And in everyday life, you don't get a break from parenting. And so, with that being said, you want to again be proactive in support, because it starts with a good foundation, the prevention of it. It starts with a good foundation. Other support for children and families that are in need is definitely our ministries and our churches. Coming from a Christian perspective, most of the ministries that I've come into contact with, they find a way to involve children. I know with Change Life and the ministries surrounding, and also Positive Outcomes, we definitely try to include children in most of the things that we do. We don't allow the families to be forgotten about. Families with very, very small children, we always try to find a way to incorporate activities for them, and also supporting the parents as well. And whenever a parent has a ministry, especially single parents, that's an extra layer of responsibility. So the church is supposed to be a good, loving support system anyway. And that does include the families, and it does include the children. And also keep it in mind that there are single moms who may need support, and you can always offer to accompany them in their own efforts to support their children. If you have a single mom who is going to an activity or an event, or even parent teacher conferences to advocate and support her children, you could offer to accompany them. You never know. That might be the push that they need to feel more comfortable. The parents need support, of course. And you just never know how much easier you're making it. A lot of single moms are independent, but some of them may need that extra push. And some may not ask unless they know for sure it's available. So you can do your part by offering it. And if they're not, interested, that's fine. If they are interested, follow through. But by offering to be a support system for them, it makes the biggest difference, because they know that if you're needed, they can reach out to you. And then you want to support the professionals or advocates in our communities that are working to fight child abuse. And this is from the teachers, religious leaders in the church, ministries, outreach programs, and also social workers. They're trying to fight child abuse. So they're obviously emotionally connected. I don't feel that those are the type of careers or efforts that can go whole-souled and go consistently without some type of emotional connection and to be effective. So you want to encourage them to make sure they take care of their mental health. Being in certain situations where you're faced with a child or a family where abuse is there, it's going to have a certain effect on you. It's going to have a mark on you. So just try to make sure you support them. Don't make them feel bad if you're friends with one of them and they just want some time alone, or they may be in mode of not being very social or withdrawn. They have a lot of emotions that they deal with from that. Police officers as well, any type of law enforcement that they have, to deal firsthand with child abuse and child abuse prevention. Just try to give them all the support you need. And you want to encourage child care advocates to take care of their mental health as well. And so this is usually, of course, surrounding the smaller children, but studies have shown that there is an extra layer of stress that is accompanied by childcare workers who have their own families, who may be parents and supporting their own children, but they're still, working in an environment where they're around other people's children and taking care of them. So that's not just something for parents that we want to support in supporting families, but we also want to support those who advocate and have careers that are centered around children as well, because oftentimes they have their own families. And in addition to that, that is their livelihood is also taking care of children. So it's a lot of emotional connect there. And there's a lot of things that we can do to kind of lessen the load on them. But we want to make sure, again, they know it's available, just like the individual parents. And we want to always thank everyone for their efforts. Anybody who has a program or anything in the community that is doing what they can do to be proactive in these situations, consistent support, be a consistent sounding board and a resource for these families and for the children. We want to make sure even that we thank them, even if it's just an activity or support of an activity. Sometimes by bringing your own child to an event, that is automatically going to encourage other parents. Going back to that respite care that we were talking about, a lot of parents I've found, whenever I have taken my son to different respite events to participate, or gotten him involved in extracurricular activities, or just allowing him to be his own person and have his own individual personality. And as he's getting older, it's a lot more vital. But there are parents who kind of don't know where to start. So if you know of anything and your child is involved in it, you might want to offer that resource to the parent. You might want to advocate for that particular program, because a lot of times parents don't have the information and they don't see reviews depending on how small or large the program is. So by giving that word of mouth testimonial into how each individual program that your child has been involved in, it's a good program, the people, go ahead and give your testimony. Let them know what you've experienced. Let them know how you feel. And that sometimes opens the door for them to take advantage of that. And this is supporting the children as well, because they have so much fun. Some parents, unfortunately, depending on what generation and how they were raised and other various factors, they don't always feel comfortable allowing their children to be a part of the activity. There's that parent guilt that comes in. I experienced it when my child was small, but as I got older, I started to give myself permission to take a break, give yourself permission to recharge. Some of these parents need to recharge and they don't even realize it. Others know they need to recharge and they don't know where to start. And so by offering support and sharing your experience as a parent, and just remember, it takes a village to raise a child. And this is a way to be proactive before any type of issues start, before mental health things, start to spiral out of control for the adults or the children, and other things that may lead to child abuse. Also, with any of these professionals or parents that have themselves experienced child abuse, you want to make sure you stay in contact with them. Again, you want to encourage them to reach out to mental health professionals on a consistent basis and take care of themselves. A lot of the individuals in the community or even in professional fields who advocate for child abuse prevention have been victims of child abuse themselves, or they may have witnessed child abuse themselves. And in those circumstances, it's taken very personally. It's something that's close to their heart because it's something that they've experienced personally on some level. And the good thing about that is they're more empathetic. But the other part of that is they could still be healing. They could still be dealing with the trauma from that. And for those of you who, are Christians and you're dealing with Christian parents or Christian religious leaders or ministry leaders that have been abused, encourage prayer, encourage child involvement for their children, encourage respite, encourage them to allow their children to be a part of ministry programs, whatever you can do to let them know that you're there for them and that you respect the fact that this is not only something that they advocate for, but it's their victim as well, and a victim that became a survivor. And it's important to allow them the space of safety to spread that testimony if that's what they choose to do. On the other hand, for those who are survivors of child abuse, always let them get the opportunity to tell their own story. Be someone that they can feel comfortable pouring out their heart and their experiences, but give them the space to be able to tell their story, because a lot of people have never been able to tell their story. And a lot of people may spend their lives trying to prevent this from happening to another child, but the child inside them that was abused has not completely healed. So always keep that in mind in your efforts to support these families, because it's vital to the cause. It's vital to the cause that you start with the individuals, and that's not just the children, but also the parents. Doing our part in the communities on a local and nationwide level is something that we need to do consistently. This is Child Abuse Awareness Month, but we want Child Abuse Prevention Awareness Month, pardon me. But we also want to do that even beyond April. And the local and nationwide organizations that support children who experience things like this includes the libraries, churches, ministries, schools, child care centers, also advocacy firms. And because of the pandemic, a lot of them are holding conferences, parent support master classes, workshops, all these things virtually, so that you can also network with individuals nationwide. And I do encourage that you do this on a consistent basis by trying to stay involved in these activities and, sending out links, posting links, and just trying to get everyone involved in the communities and have the kids be a part of things that are specific to them, and also have the parents be a part of things that are specific to them. And this is going to help them maintain a good social emotional connection while they're getting the support in parenting. And that's so important because we can strengthen one another. Like the Bible says, iron sharpens iron. If you're a parent and I'm a parent and we're doing the same thing we can to raise healthy children that can thrive, we're going to be able to kind of support one another. And so by networking in these communities and trying to get these meaningful connections, you're doing your part to make sure that everyone has the resources they need. You can also volunteer your time and resources. There are organizations like The Call in Conway, and there are also Community Connections. Community Connections in Faulkner County is a wonderful organization They advocate for children. They have programs for children, but they also have respite and support groups for parents. And this does include children with different abilities and parents with different abilities. So there's a lot of things out there for everyone. And the best thing is word of mouth. If you are involved in any of these programs, spread the word, give your testimonial. You may be helping someone get that extra confidence and that extra information to take advantage. So try to connect as many people as you can connect. I'm going to say that Community Connections has been a very good thing. It's been a blessing for my family. My son loves it. He's been able to make new friends. Sometimes he might see familiar faces, and sometimes he may network with other individuals who may be a little bit newer to the program. But it just gives you yet another resource of support when you're dealing with raising healthy children of any ability. And you want to continue to try to connect other supporters, just like you're connecting with parents. Connect with other supporters, but connect those supporters. If you know of someone in ministry who's volunteering, who's creating a program, or who may already have a program, and then you know someone else who's looking, searching for a program, or they also have a program, try to network them together. Try to get those professionals together that are doing their part, because sometimes somebody might not be aware of someone else's efforts. And once they become aware, they can support them. Community Connections is one of those programs that's pretty well known in the community. But from community to community, there are smaller programs and efforts that are kind of behind the scenes, so to speak. So if you know about one or the other, you can always encourage them to connect. And since you've experienced both, or you have knowledge about both, you can throw in, as a verbal reference, like, I know this person, my child was a part of, A, B, and C. It's been a blessing. I think this will be something to help so and so. And the next thing you know, you're letting them know about another person in another program. And then you're able to network them. And then they come together and they're able to do something bigger simply because you shared your testimonial. And they are able to do more work in child abuse prevention just because you did your part in networking them. So continue connecting, but also connect the connectors. And by doing this, we're building a bigger village. And the smallest to the largest effort makes a difference. You want to also partner with other parents and brainstorm on other things that you can do. Sometimes parents need a boost in allowing themselves to take advantage of respite care or self-care for themselves, or just advocate for themselves or get the support that they need. Sometimes those parents who are on board with all of that, they have ideas. And by you finding out about their idea and you having your idea, just like with networking, those individuals who already have programs that they're implementing, you and that parent can come up with ways to build programs or to have events to encourage other parents. You never know what word of mouth can do, and you never know what the other person has to offer until you conversate about it, until you do your research. And part of doing that research is not just the fundamental facts, but it's actually communicating with other parents to see what their ideas are. And by brainstorming together and supporting each other in those efforts together, you never know what you may come up with. Before you know it, you're connecting those who have programs, and you're connecting professionals, and then you're connecting parents, you're connecting yourself, and you're getting more and more of a village to support this child abuse prevention thing in your community. And it's definitely worth it. The parents are worth it. The children are worth it. The families are worth it. The family is the most important institution. And in our society, the fundamental foundation for the world that we live in. And, I come from a very good family. Um, my dad and my mom always helped people in the community, directly and indirectly. And it definitely matters. Sometimes people think that the little bit that they do is not going to change anything or not going to make the biggest difference. But if you are consistent with it, if your heart is in the right place, if you network with the right people, express your ideas, keep a positive attitude, even if it's just one child, one parent, one family, if enough people help just one parent, one child, one family, that's going to go a long way in making a huge difference in child abuse prevention. And when you really think about it, making a bigger village is making a bigger difference because you will no longer be by yourself. You will no longer be the only one with this idea or that idea. You'll have support, but you have to use word of mouth, and you have to use any resources that you have that your next door neighbor may not have. And you also have to serve as a resource. And it's so important because our children are the future. And we have to do what we can to proactively build them from the outside and just allow them to spread their wings and be better and stronger than the previous generation. Because we're learning and because we're evolving and because over the years there's been more and more information that's come out to make us better parents, and our parents had to get information, and information comes in a lot of different forms. But I pray that the newer, fresher millennial parents can experience things on a level that they never have before, and they're able to share that with some of us as older parents and grandparents as well, and others in the community. The pandemic showed us a different way of doing things. The pandemic was a time where child abuse prevention had a lot of boundaries, had a lot of blocks. And so a lot of the advocates and supporters and professionals had to be very creative in coming up with ways to continue their efforts. But from that created a lot of networking and a lot of new projects and programs that we are able to use. And so there's different ways to do things. There's different classes. If you know of anyone who might seem to be having an issue of any kind as a parent or a child, say something to somebody in authority. Get them the proper care, because being proactive in a lot of these situations, you will find that the basis is mental health. And you want to do your part in trying to prevent it from getting to that point, because there's always a beginning. Sometimes you can prevent it, sometimes you can't. The statistics are factual, unfortunately. But by doing your part, you're going to make a difference, and you're going to be another stepping stone in preventing child abuse. And you're going to make a stance in doing that and understanding the importance of it, and always staying in the game, because it takes a village to raise a child, but it also takes a village to support those villages. And you want to be part of that. And some of us are on both sides. like we mentioned earlier, some of the advocates are parents themselves. Most of them are. And we just want to continue to do what we're doing, all helping each other. Iron sharpens iron. Pray your way through. Keep supporting those in need. Do what you can to try to prevent any more child abuse. Love you guys. Thanks for tuning in. I'll see you next week. Pastor Felicia.